The other week I made a TikTok post and an Instagram reel about this exact guitar. And I'll have to admit, I wasn't surprised at all that there were plenty of people who didn't know what this weird little guy was. Some people thought it was a bass, others thought it was a custom build. But this is neither. It's my Fender Tenor Telecaster, and let's talk about it. Welcome to Get Offset. My name is Emily, and you deserve to treat yourself to a little extra guitar time today. I'm obviously here with my Fender Tenor Telecaster. Tenor guitars are one of those things that has a really dedicated fan base, but isn't super popular in the grand scheme of its niche, this niche being guitars. I did either a video or article, maybe both, I don't really remember, for Eastwood guitars years ago. Eastwood is maybe the only brand making production line tenor guitars today. Tenor guitars have never been more popular than their 6-string counterparts, but they have a fun little history. If you just care about the guitars and not a short history, skip to the timestamp shown on screen. Though they may be a bit older than this, tenor guitars I mean, Gibson released a tenor lute, the forefather of the tenor guitar, in 1924. It, well, looked like a lute, but it had the neck of a 4-string tenor banjo. Starting in 1927, both Gibson and Martin would keep the idea of a banjo neck, but would build them more in the essence of 6-string acoustic guitars. Eventually, even budget brands like Harmony were building tenors, but they weren't really made for guitarists. Instead, tenor guitars were designed for banjo players so that they could more easily double on guitar or transition to the instrument altogether as it grew in popularity. Tenor guitar maintained some small popularity throughout the years, with Gibson and others producing largely one-off runs of electric tenors. You can actually see a really cool Gibson SG style tenor on the cover of what I believe is the 2nd issue of the Fretboard Journal. Jason Verlinde of the Fretboard Journal was the original owner of this one, but he sold it to Nico Case, the cover artist. Interest in all forms of tenor guitars waned for decades, but seeing a bit of a resurgence today, thanks in no small part to players like Nico Case, Warren Ellis, Elvis Costello, and one of my favorite songwriters, Jason Molina, who used tenor guitars a lot in the early Songs Ohio recordings. But you want to know about this tenor guitar, but what about my other tenor guitars, like this one, or this one, or this one? While I did videos to thin the herd of my Telecasters and Jazzmasters, these tenors aren't going anywhere. So today, we're not going to see which ones I can get rid of. No, I'm going to just show these babies off because I can. Starting with, of course, this one. Just kidding, I already have this one in my hands. This is my first ever tenor guitar. I bought this at Old Town in Portland, Oregon as a Valentine's Day gift to myself. It's an Eastwood Astrojet Tenor Deluxe, and as you might have guessed, its purchase was inspired just a little bit by Nico Case's Gibson SG tenor that I saw on the cover of the Fretboard Journal when I was in high school. Obviously, that guitar stuck with me because when I saw this at Old Town, I told my husband that I'd be devastated to lose it, that it would indeed be the one that got away. So I bought it and took it back to Seattle with me. I had to stow it under a bolt bus, which I'm not sure bolt buses still exist, but yes, let's talk about the guitar. One of the first things I noticed about this guitar was that the pickups and obviously the Bigsby and bridge are for 6-string guitars. This keeps the price down and makes pickup swaps easy, which I appreciate. You can see that right there. That is a full 6-string bridge, full 6-string pickup, full 6-string Bigsby. A lot of Eastwood tenors, including the Warren Ellis, which I will get to later, have an unfortunately wide nut width. This baby, however, has a similar nut width to a banjo. This makes playing it a lot easier for me. Trying to play chords with wider string spacing like you do on the Warren Ellis is something I find really difficult. One of the things I love about tenors is that when made with a banjo nut width, they are easier for folks with smaller hands to play. The combo of guitar string spacing and a shorter scale is simply more manageable for a lot of people, especially women and frankly people who have some issues with using their hands. I'm not sure if Eastwood still makes this one. I did see an Astrojet tenor in their custom shop with P90s, which I'd rather have P90s, yeah, but that looks like it's a limited run. It seems to be limited to maybe 800 pieces. A weird thing that I don't like about this guitar though is the dot placement. In case you didn't notice, it's more akin to mandolin placement, I believe, where the dots are on the 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, and 12th frets. That honestly messes me up a bit, and I've experimented with sticker dots on the side to help me find my way around. I mean, if I was tuned in 5th, I'd probably get along with it fine, but this one is tuned D-G-B-A, so like the top strings of a standard guitar. Anyway, this one I really love. It's not the most meticulously built guitar, there's some weird stuff about it for sure, but it was my first tenor and has a special place in my heart. Let's move along to the next one. Now we have another Eastwood, to which I've already alluded and you've already kind of seen, the famed Warren Ellis. Mustang vibes for sure. This one has the 2 pickups, and if I recall correctly, they don't have the best volume balance. Right now I have the neck pickup on, and we switch that to the bridge. Yeah, not really a good balance at all. This also has the wider nut width. It's 1 5/16 of an inch versus the Astrojet's, which is 1 1/8 of an inch. It seems like a small difference, but it feels massive. The string spacing is genuinely noticeably wider. Because of the nut width, I don't play this one as often. It came tuned in 5ths, and it's really fun to play that way unless you have to bar those mandolin chords, which I find tough enough to do on a regular mandolin. But for open chords or single note stuff, this is really fun. I unfortunately broke a string just now and I need to find a replacement. So sorry about that. I'm not really going to be playing this, but if you do want to see this in action, there are some tenor guitar videos I did on the Eastwood Guitars YouTube page. They're tutorials, so you can hear this guitar there. Next up is one I searched high and low for, the Fender Tenor Telecaster. Like the Astrojet, this has a narrower nut width, which I really like. It doesn't feel like the most luxe guitar, but this is probably my nicest electric tenor, at least one with this nut width. I really love the narrow frets, and the feel of the guitar is really nice for me. I do think I need to get some staggered tuning machines though. The break angle on this is kind of like non-existent. I don't really know how to show that to you, but that's what I did the TikTok video about. But this is the guitar that someone on TikTok said I must have had custom made and then put a Fender decal on. Firstly, I would never do that. I would definitely have someone make me a tenor guitar, but I wouldn't put an incorrect logo on a guitar ever. Secondly, these were production models for a limited run in 2020. I believe they sold really well. I mean, the used prices for them were out of hand for a long time, but Fender only did this one run. I believe I was told that they had some issues with building these. I mean, it's a completely different neck. They made their own properly sized pickups, which, you know, is quite a thing. I wish they'd do more, but I just don't think that they will. I'm also not sure I've ever played this one on stage. I've definitely played the Astrojet on stage. That was at a disco gig because these things, they're really little funk machines, you know? Well, wrong picks for this, but. I need a thinner pick to actually, you know, get that real funk sound. But this one, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity, and that's too bad. I played a show a few years ago that was a Nico Case tribute. I was in a house band, but I didn't bring this because I was needed on 6-string and sometimes baritone guitar. Anyway, this is a similar looking guy that I'd been checking out on Reverb for a few years. When I bought it, It didn't have the pick guard. My friend and Patreon supporter Jason made this for me, and it's perfect. If you know me, you know I love Prince, and this is straight up Prince vibes even before the pick guard. This guitar is genuinely very funny to me. It was obviously handmade, and you can see little mistakes here and there, but all in all, it feels really nice. This one is tuned to E-A-D-G, which is unusual for me, but it came tuned like this, so I just rolled with it. I might change it to open G because I really need one in that tuning. It would be really strange for me to keep it tuned like this, to be honest. When I play with a band, I tend to drop the bass note, so I rarely play the low E unless I know the bassist is just laying on that root note. But yeah, let's talk about it a little bit more. Again, like kind of acoustic guitar style tuning machines. The neck is really round. It's different than the other necks, which I feel like still try to get that kind of guitar neck feel. It has this really nice veneer, which I love. It's a veneer. And there are some things about it that are just kind of unusual. I think it seems to be a bass bridge and this blade pickup, which I think is a smart choice. I'm not sure the pickup selector does anything, so. But it's there. But yeah, talking about those little mistakes, you can kind of see where the bridge was misdrilled there. Obviously something happened here. They filled in a little hole, but like just the stripe all the way through the veneer. This is very clearly inspired by Prince's Mad Cat. And if you know who made this guitar, please let me know. I'm really curious, and I've never been able to find out who made it. On that note, all right, this one is a little bit different. It's likely my oldest guitar, and it is a Gibson TG-0 acoustic tenor from 1963. Let me think. Yeah, I have a 1965 Music Master 2, and my Coronado 2 is from 67, so this should definitely be the oldest in my collection. I got this at Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar a few years ago, and it's my only acoustic tenor guitar. It has the original frets in the original case, but we're missing a pickguard screw here. This is tuned to DGBA, which is how it was tuned when I got it. The TG-Os or TG-0s are interesting. The older ones use banjo style tuners, but they later moved to acoustic guitar tuning machines, as you can see, you know, here. I believe these were made in 2 runs, one from 1927 to 33, which were more based on the L0 or LO, and from 1960 to 1974, and those were based more on the LGO. Apparently most of these used Brazilian rosewood fingerboards until 68. We know how modern guitars feel about that. I assume this is a natural mahogany finish, but I'm not sure. By the way, hat tip to 12thfret.com for that info. One thing I really like about this guitar is that they seem to have used a standard acoustic guitar tailpiece that was, you know, drilled for 6 strings just to plug up the 2 on the ends. Bit of, now that I look at it on the screen, it's almost an optical illusion. That's kind of fun, but that's very reminiscent of Eastwood's Astrojet using parts made for 6 strings. One of my favorite touches on this guitar is the binding. This taut celluloid binding, you should be able to see that just fine. You don't see it very much. Apparently it's a huge pain to work with and really hard to find with modern guitars. That being said, I think it's really a nice touch, but you know, I'm gonna be honest with you all. Frankly, I might have overpaid for this guitar. I probably paid around $1,500, maybe a little less, but looking at Reverb, these average closer to $1,000. This is one of those guitars where I think maybe I shouldn't have bought it. I don't play a lot of acoustic guitar, and when I do, it's nearly always 6-string to accompany somebody else. I should probably make more time to play acoustic more frequently, because not to toot my own horn, but whenever someone hears me play an acoustic guitar, they ask me why I don't do it more often, and I really don't have an answer. Up until like my early 20s, I was primarily an acoustic player. Even though I played electric in bands, I played acoustic probably 90% of the time at home. That probably had more to do with focusing on songwriting a lot more back then. Probably more than I should have, but that's another discussion for another video. But frankly, a big reason I don't play this guitar a lot is because I know I need to take it to a luthier or a tech. I am 90% sure that the bridge saddle is cut too high on this side, which means the D string is woefully out of tune when fretted. Check this out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting this microphone perfect. It should be good enough. But if you want to double check my tuning, I have a D'Addario tuner in here, and I'll just top off tune real quick. Yep. I mean, anytime. It sounds so wrong that I can't really even get my ear around it. Like, I don't think the other strings hold tuning very well either, but this D, so I have my tuner again, D. It's already gone a little flat, which is fun. I wonder if just the strings are wrong, frankly. And then D. D sharp is very sharp, and that happens when one of these is cut too high. If we go to the higher string, so the G is also, you know, it's so, you're not going to see this very well, and I will definitely try to remember to put a picture in that I took, but they're just too high. It's almost like this was taken from a full-size acoustic and just kind of chopped down, and they didn't compensate for the height. Like, I don't expect acoustic guitar intonation to be perfect ever, to be honest. I do kind of expect it coming from where it came from. So I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed with myself more than anything. Like, I didn't notice it when I bought it. But it's pretty clear looking at it now that that's possibly, probably, most likely the problem. Again, like, I feel really weird talking in absolutes like that, but that's the vibe that I get. Frankly, it looks like the bridge was barely cut at all. It's just, things just kind of seem to be resting on the bridge. There's like maybe an itty bitty little indent when I loosen the strings and pull them away, but barely. It's like they're just resting there. That's unlike other acoustics I have. But I don't know, maybe that's just how they made these. I'm just, you know, if you have any insight, please let me know in the comments if I'm right or if I'm wrong. I know I need to take it in. I also suspect I could probably do it on my own, but I feel with an instrument that's this age, I just feel a lot more comfortable taking it to somebody else. But there you have it. That's my current tenor guitar collection. If you liked this video, please check out one of the videos on the screen. I'm sure you'll love them. If you'd like other ways to support this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. We also have a Patreon with Discord server access. Links to that and affiliate links in the video description. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. Until next time, my name is Emily. Goodbye.